Hello and welcome back to the Fight and Talk 2 channel. Apologies from George in Casual Crush Corner and Prath, the eloquent analyst. Unfortunately, they are both busy this evening, but instead we have a very, very worthy replacement. We have Brian from Mad Dog MMA, sporting his Fight and Talk 2 t-shirt. How are we doing, Brian?
Oh, great. Can't complain, man. Loving life. How are you doing?
Very good, man. Very good. I'm okay with the fight card from last night, but there are a few fights that I feel could have been more exciting, and we will get straight into them. What is your pick of the night? What was your favorite fight on the card that you thought, wow, that was everything I wanted it to be?
Just my personal standpoint, I would say that I really enjoyed, from a grappler's issue, Moicano and what's his name? Yeah, I love that fight because Moicano definitely knew his game plan and he stuck to it the whole time. You know, when he started standing up with Herbert and Herbert started landing his punches, Moicano definitely decided, hey, this is not where I want to be. I'm going to take him down and I'm going to smother him like that. And eventually he did get that submission. I enjoyed that fight. I know a lot of people don't like the grappling side of fighting sometimes, but I thought that Moicano and Herbert were both, moving their hips the whole time. Herbert was framing, Moicano was switching and transitioning the whole time, throwing punches. I thought it was a great fight, but like I said, there's not a lot to pick from on this one. What about you? What do you think?
To be honest with you, I really, really enjoyed. Now, I'm sorry if I get his name wrong because I've heard it being pronounced quite a few different times. Zechwuku. I think the guys in the commentary, probably struggled with his name quite a bit yesterday as well. But it was the guy that fought Olberg last time out and got completely destroyed for like 2 rounds and then managed to win at the end of the second round, I believe. And he was facing a grappler yesterday, a striker versus a grappler. As we know, the grappler is going to go straight to taking them down. And he managed to get a body triangle. Marquez managed to try and get a body triangle for 5 minutes straight, which is unbelievable. You don't really see that kind of thing in mixed martial arts because someone's got to do something. Clearly, he was doing just enough to not get pulled off. But I suppose, you know a little bit more about this than I do. If you have a body triangle, but you're stood up, kind of not doing anything, would that be too much of a dominant position to restart the fight kind of thing?
No, I guess it depends on, are you working at something? Are you working towards, throwing that forearm across the throat or trying to work something? But just a body triangle in general, if you're not doing anything to advance your position, I could see why you would get stood up in that position if you're not doing anything.
But they were stood up. It's strange. He obviously was trying to attack the neck at times, but I felt like something needed to happen. Zechwuku, just stayed against the cage side the whole time. Very, very big guy anyway. And to be fair to him, he probably had a really, really good game plan because he managed to get some really good hands off between the later parts of the second round and the third round, and obviously managed to get a KO victory in the first 20 seconds of the third round. So clearly his corner was doing something very, very good. And on my notes, I actually had that the cornering was really, really great from his guys because they said, I believe in you. You've got this. You can do this, which is what you need. Sometimes I feel the cornering from some of these guys is just so, so poor. They'll be blowing smoke up the guy's, ego. And you just think, come on, your guy's losing. Tell him to go out there. Tell him what to do. Do you know what I mean? I feel like sometimes they just don't do that.
Well, it's almost like, like when Eddie Bravo was cornering Ferguson, you know what I mean? And they sent Eddie Bravo in and Eddie Bravo's like, you're doing great, champ. You're doing good against, Gaethje, when Gaethje was just kicking the heck out of, Ferguson. So, it's you have to have the right people. You have to have the right people surrounding you. And when you have somebody like that that's saying, good job, go out there, we believe in you, you're doing good, this is what you need to do to improve your positions, this is what you need to do to improve what you're doing in the fight, that's the people you want around you.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And there was a good bit of cornering from Prachnio's corner as well, who was, got screamed at and said, switch your stance. And he managed to switch his
Mhm.
stance and got a fantastic body kick, which completely destroyed Villanueva, who'd actually won the first round.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those body kicks, I mean, once you land them perfectly, that liver shot, I mean, there's no getting up. I've been hit with a body shot before where I see green, you know what I mean? And just went down to my knees before. There is nothing. It's almost like, if you watch the movie Million Dollar Baby, they say
Mhm.
once you get hit in that sweet spot, your brain says, I'll take it from here. Where, it's going to control and just, it's going to put you in because it's protecting you from yourself. You know what I mean? So, I mean, a perfect switch body kick could put anybody down. And obviously it did on that one. It was a great kick.
Yeah, definitely. It really was. And it was, there's not a lot of times where you see a liver kick and the guy just completely gets flattened. It's very, very rare to see, I think.
Well, I mean, that's just a perfectly placed kick. You know what I mean? Like the liver, when he was walking back, got that switch kick, you seen it instantly. He tried to tough it out. But I mean, once that pain hits you, I mean, it just puts you onto your knees like it did to him.
No, completely, man. Completely. Now, we need to have a little shout out to George because George is very, very high on Shavkat Rakhmonov, right? George absolutely loves this guy. He thinks he's the future of MMA. He thinks, he's his future husband as well. That's down to him. But what did you think of his performance yesterday? Clearly a very, very dominant performance. He's got 7 submissions and 7 TKO victories now. So clearly this guy is
So with
doing
that,
something right.
yeah, 14-0 and just looks unstoppable, really. I mean, that height advantage that he has. And, I think this was his coming out party. I think people really go, even though George has taken, has, taken a liking to him. My buddy Hodko likes him a lot. You know, Hardcore MMA fans and people that watch the sport have noticed this guy before, but now this is going to be his coming out party. I think that we're going to see him on the main card. I think we're going to see him in a big fight, in a big spot on his next one up.
No, completely. And who do you think he's going to fight next? Obviously, he's in a division with absolute killers, as are all of these gentlemen. But where do you see him going from here? Because he's not ranked currently, is he?
Yeah, he's not ranked right now, but I don't know where. I don't know who he would fight. Who would you want to see him fight next?
Anyone. I want to see him fight absolutely anyone. I don't mind. I want to see this guy getting back in the octagon. Do you know what I mean? There's some fighters that you look at and
Yeah,
think, wow, you put on a really fantastic performance every time you go out, and you just want to see where they can go and how far and how much they can test themselves.
yeah, we just don't want to get another Cosmot. You know what I mean? I mean, everybody was really high on him there for a couple fights, and then all of a sudden it just COVID happened and we're gone. I want to see these guys get in there and just walk up the ranks respectively, and I hope that this happens with him too.
Yeah, I mean, with Hamzat Chimaev, I think it was the 3 fights he had in like 28 days or whatever it was, never before seen. He obviously had very good victories over competitors he probably shouldn't have been fighting anyway.
Yeah,
But do you see him returning to the octagon anytime soon? I haven't really seen or heard any great
no,
bits of news on him.
no. I mean, do you remember when he first came in? I mean, it was any time, any place, and then I heard that he had a fight offered with Luke Rockhold. And it was first time it was he said that Luke Rockhold said it was a 3-round fight in August, I think it was. And they said he said that he turned that down, and then they offered him a main event in September, and that they're still waiting for Cosmo, but it's not looking good. So I don't know when you see this, but I think that the effects of COVID on him, on Chimaev, are probably playing with him mentally. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I mean, if you go back and look at Cody Garbrandt, he's not the same since he had that COVID, diagnosis and stuff like that. We need to see these long-term effects, and maybe Cosma is saying like, I'm looking out for my health here. And so if a fighter's not ready to fight, don't put him in.
It's strange how he made so much success when everyone else had COVID and there was so many restrictions, and then that has also been his demise as well. That
Yeah.
the same disease that brought him into the public eye has now pushed him down.
Yeah, it's crazy. I wish the best for him, but I don't see him returning anytime soon.
No, it is a real shame when you see someone that's clearly got a lot of flair, charisma, and comes out of a great camp as well, and looks like he's going to be the next big thing. You always see these pictures of Dana White, and then he's got all these kids around him, and they've always got different faces. Back in the day, it was Ronda Rousey,
Yeah.
Sage Northcutt,
Yeah.
Conor McGregor, and stuff, and they seem to change all the time. And clearly, Chimaev was very much up there. He was going to quite a lot of the live events as well.
Yeah, I think that long-term wise, when he said that he wanted to retire and that he was retiring, I think he really meant it. And now over there, you have people that put the pressure on you that to make you come back. Even Dana White will put the pressure on you to come back if you're going to be a mega superstar. And I think that's where he was going. People were already ready to give him a title shot after 3 fights. You see him? You remember?
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. But I would love to see him back, and I would love to see him back at 170 or 185. I don't care which one he comes back, whatever he feels healthier at. Let's see what he's got. I know this is off subject totally, but
yeah, no, it's fine, man. But I think that in both divisions there are some absolute killers in the top 5. Would he be able to come back after this amount of time off and only having 3 fights in the UFC against people that were pretty much on their debuts anyway? Is he going to be able to come in and have any sort of run?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying too. I mean, like, does he have this in his head? Like, and I'm not saying like he's not, but maybe he realizes in the gym and when he's going against bigger competition and stiffer competition in the gym, or if he's traveling places, he's realizing maybe I'm not the person that I thought I was, or maybe I don't have it like I thought I did when I was fighting these 3 new guys, except Merchant, or I don't know. It's a slippery slope when we start talking about fighters. But if you're as a fighter, if you don't want to fight anymore, you should stop. You shouldn't fight, period.
Yeah.
And nobody should talk you into it.
No, I agree. And there's probably quite a few people that are very, very close to retirement that just really shouldn't fight, and we should all just sign some petitions so they don't fight
just
anymore.
Get them out. I agree, man.
Oh,
I couldn't agree more.
But a guy that is improving that we saw on last night's card, Tim Means versus Nicholas Dalby. What did you think of Tim Means' performance? Because this guy is never going to be rocking the boat and, pushing for a belt, I don't think. But I thought he had a fantastic performance, fantastic elbows, and Dalby is no scrub.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But the problem is, like you just said, he's a mid-card fighter. He's somebody that we need on these mid-cards. But I don't know if, in the end, what he's fighting for except the paycheck. And I mean that with the most respect, because it takes a ton of heart and a ton of dedication to get into this ring, even if it is a mid-card or an undercard or a prelim fight or whatever, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It takes a ton of heart, a ton of dedication to get in there. And I'm not taking anything away from him. He looked great last night, but like we said, he's never going to be something spectacular.
Yeah. And it was a good change to have all of the judges agree on one fighter that they thought had won, which obviously doesn't happen very often. And
no,
there was a fight that you watched last night that you felt was a bit of a robbery on one side.
Well, yeah, Volkov lost that fight last night. I cannot believe that the judges gave it to him, a majority decision. That is ridiculous. He got dropped in the second round, dropped hard too. And that first round, he got dominated. I just cannot believe that the judges gave him that card. I was watching the fights with on Discord last night with a couple guys, OS and Isaac and Hodko and Owen. They all were. Everybody just stopped talking and was just like, I can't believe this judgment right here. It was unbelievable.
Do you think it's because of the popularity of a fighter sometimes that they manage to get a decision? Because we've seen,
but what
popular fighter gets the decision?
Yeah, popularity definitely plays a role. I mean, as a judge, right? Me and you are going to go judge a fight with Conor McGregor, and let's say Dustin Poirier, right? we obviously know the significance of this fight. We know the significance of both fighters to the sport, right? But obviously, one of us has a favorite fighter in that fight. Like I would say, like I would like Conor to win. So when I'm watching a fight of Conor, I would say like, oh, look at that jab. And even though Dustin might have landed a jab cross off of that, I'm more focused on that was such a beautiful punch from Conor. I would, you know what I mean? I'm going to score that exchange for Conor McGregor. It's definitely a popularity thing. You cannot tell me that the judges don't look at some of these guys and say, I'm slanted towards one or not.
We have this discussion every single week on this show, you know, and we have this discussion on Twitter and the various different social media platforms where it's like, when are they going to get new judges? Do you know what I mean? And when are they going to enforce more strict rules? You know, I put a little thing out a couple of weeks ago that said, like, why aren't the judges in the post-fight press conference explaining why they went to a certain decision? But clearly that would have quite a lot of backlash for them as individuals and for the organization itself.
The people that are going to be better, like judges, are going to be people like us, or like fans like us, or fans like our kids, or something like that, that are going to grow up with the sport instead of growing up with boxing. And then this is a new sport. It really is. 1993 is not that long ago, where, you know, these boxing judges and stuff like that, they're getting vaulted into these MMA matches. When it's going to start changing are when our kids have grew up watching this sport like those guys grew up watching boxing.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because nowadays you see quite a lot of fighters in the UFC and various different mixed martial arts organizations that are mixed martial arts fighters. They are not from a certain background. They come from doing mixed martial arts, which I think would definitely change the game in the future.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's what's going to change everything. But we're not going to see that for another 20 years. I'm sorry, we're not. I mean, we're going to see the same kind of robberies that we've seen last night with the lead. We're going to see them a lot. But fortunately, we have not seen one in a high-profile fight in a long time. I mean, I can't think of one that for a title or something like that I have seen in recent years that I've been like, I cannot believe that just happened. Can you think of anything like that? Can you think of any big fights that you've seen recently?
The only one I can
that haven't went towards, or
the only one I can really think of, but you know, is probably Max Holloway versus Volkanovski. The first one or the second one, one of them was robbery.
Yeah. But still, that was enough. Watching those fights back, I can sit there and say, like, you know, I can see both sides of the judges. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Like, I could see both sides where somebody would give it to somebody. But last night was just outside, just unbelievable. I cannot believe it. Yeah. I can't think of a fight like that in a high-profile fight that has happened like that in a while.
Yeah, maybe because there's more on the line for these judges. If they get that decision wrong, they're probably a bit more tentative to maybe they're putting more effort in, basically, you know, with the high profile fights, because the backlash would be phenomenal.
Can Dana White ban a judge from these guys as like corners, you know, because I know that he's done it with referees like Steve Mazzagatti and stuff like that, but can he do it with judges?
I don't know.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, because Mazzagatti was obviously a third party to the UFC, and you know the organization put a referee in there, and he said he will never ref again. So he made that decision in the post-fight press conference. He said this man will never ref again.
He will. That's what I'm saying. And so can they do that? Can he do that same thing with judges? This man will never judge a fight of mine again. Or is it just part of the Nevada Athletic State Commission or the Nevada Athletic Commission or the California State Athletic Commission that these guys are automatically put into these positions?
Yeah, I have no idea.
I don't know.
That'd be a fantastic question to ask him, because
you
could Sal D'Amato, Chris Lee, the other guy, Yamasaki, Sato or something, like all of these guys should be
Yeah.
strict and never allowed to, even watch mixed martial arts again.
Yeah, when you meet Dana White, you ask him that for me. Okay, you let him know that I was the one. You tell him that I want to know that. It has to do with the athletic commission. Though it has to, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think
it has to.
I think it might be. But back onto last night.
I think that some of these, I know we. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Fire away, man. Fire away.
I was just going to say that some of these journalists, I think, would make decent. I would think that they would make decent judges.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these guys that have been following the sport forever, I think that they would make decent judges, and I think that they should go for that kind of thing. I mean, because those are the guys that have fell in love with the sport and have followed the sport this whole time. You know what I mean? Like these Kevin Iolis and Ariel Helwani. I'm not saying, get them in here, but let's start letting them maybe judge a few fights, or just, you know what I mean? That's my opinion, because these guys have followed the sport from the very beginning and have understood what's happening in the evolution of this. And I think that they would make great judges.
Yeah, and even like you say, because I'm not sure what website it is, but you can see all of the different journalists and who they thought have won the fight.
Yeah.
And then obviously have a look at that, and then you can obviously make an educated guess as
exactly
as to who you thought would win.
Right. I mean, that's where I think that we should go when it comes to judges, not the athletic commission, who they're going to put in. I think we should start going with people that have followed the sport forever.
Yeah, I'm completely with you, man. And it would be good to find out that kind of stuff. And what Prath has asked in the past is the running order of the fights as well, because I'd love to work out why they put certain fights in certain places on the card, especially with a big pay-per-view event. Sometimes the mid prelims, sometimes they got a really good fight, and then they'll have, like on the Conor Dustin card, there's like Tai Tuivasa is like the co-main, and you just think, this guy got dropped from the UFC like 3 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden he's like co-main of a massive pay-per-view event.
And he's fighting some woman beater in Greg Hardy. I'm sorry, it's just he's a terror. I mean, how are we putting this guy on a main fight card when you have, who's like Ryan Hall? He's on the prelims. You know what I mean? I would much rather see somebody like him on the main card instead of Greg Hardy.
Versus Tai Tuivasa.
I don't get it. That's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question. But the thing about Tai is he can do shoeies out of shoes, so everybody loves him.
But even that, it gets a little bit. It gets.
I mean, really,
And the Greg Hardy thing, I saw something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Why is this guy still fighting? Why is he being paid by the UFC? And why is he on? He's going to make a lot of money to do that fight next week, in a couple of weeks. Sorry, he's going to make a lot of money doing that.
But you know what? People want to see him get smashed, though.
Absolutely, but he's still
and I would love. Yes, he will. He will get paid, but I would love to see Tai. I would love to see him come in and just smoke Greg Hardy. But that's what gets me, is I can't wait to see this guy get knocked out eventually.
Eventually.
But how, eventually. Yeah, I mean, he's never going to be, Tim Means is better than him. But what I'm saying is he's like a mid-card guy. He will never be somebody that, the only fight that I'll root for Cyril Gane is if he fights Greg Hardy.
And to be fair, that probably wouldn't be. Well, no, it would. We'll get onto the Gane thing a little bit later.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Jumping a little bit, but
I think Greg Hardy shouldn't be fighting, especially not so high up on the card. And I think he's done main events in the past, or co-main events.
Yes, he has. Yeah.
And it's just.
I think of it. Didn't he fight Volkov?
I think so.
Did he fight Volkov? Yeah, I mean, Volkov beat him, I think, but I'm pretty sure that fight happened.
Yeah, maybe.
You know who we need on this one? We need Pratt.
We do, because
Pratt would know about this one.
He always knows his stuff. He does. But back to last night, we obviously saw Touchy-Feely versus Pineda. And what did you think of Feely's performance? Because me and George, when we did our little pre-fight, we were like, I don't really know too much about either of these guys, but Feely looked phenomenal last night.
He looked great, and what an unfortunate ending to that fight. He was going on to win that fight. But like me and you talked in the pre-fight, he already had a cut on his eye, and that poke went straight into that cut, and it was over from there. It is the eye poking and stuff like that. Even in the main event, if you remember, Cyril Gane poked Volkov in the eye in the 5th round.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The eye poking and the fouls have increased so much here lately. And I don't know if it is because it's coming to light. The sport is becoming more popular. We are having more striking or what, but these fouls are getting too crazy here lately.
And it was, as you say, it was very, very unfortunate. Obviously, Pineda he ate that kick beautifully that clearly split the inside of his eye, which was, very, very damaging. The cut man in the corner did very, very well to patch him up, to even get him in for another round. But I think if he didn't have the cut on his eye, the eye poke wouldn't have been as significant as the cut made it, if that makes sense. I feel like the eye poke, he would have been able to continue, but fair play to Pineda for completely guessing everything that the doctor was saying at the detriment of his own health. What do you think about that? Do you think about this guy he clearly couldn't see. He was clearly seeing double, but do you think he should have just gone, you know what, I'm done now? Or do you think going out on your shield gives him more respect?
We talked about cornermen earlier, right? As a cornerman, you should be able to make that decision for your fighter. Is my fighter healthy enough to go out there? And I think that a cornerman should be involved in that decision. When the doctor comes in and looks at a fighter, right? And they say, okay, how many fingers? Like, nobody knows the fighter like the cornerman. The doctor doesn't know the fighter. The referee doesn't know the fighter. Your cornerman knows. And so your head cornerman should be coming over while you're making these decisions and while you're putting up these questions and stuff like that. Because if you're a good cornerman and you see that your fighter is obviously guessing or is totally out of it or is, faking it, maybe even that, you can either tell the referee like, hey, we're done here, or, okay, let's get going. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like there's multiple reasons I think the cornerman should be involved in a decision like that. But like I said, all love to Pineda for trying to get back out there.
Yeah, and it was unfortunate that the fight hadn't gone long enough for it to go to the judges, because obviously that was something that I saw this year that was very new, that it got to the 3rd round and there was a foul, and then it went to the judges somehow, and enough time has elapsed. But in my whole career of watching mixed martial arts, I've never seen that before up until this year.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate. I think it's like if it's a 3-round fight, it has to go 1 3/4 of a round or 2 rounds, and I don't know what the rules are. Don't ask me, but there is some sort of time elapsed that needs to happen in order for it to for it to go to judges' scorecards. In my opinion, this is a win for Feely. I don't necessarily need to see this rematch. Do you?
Definitely not. He was clearly winning. The body kicks, the leg kicks, the head kicks, the stand-up work, the ground and pound was beautiful. His transition from the ground, his work against the cage, the whole game plan from Feely was beautiful.
It was great. His fight was great. I hate his nickname, Touchy Feely. What a weird nickname. But his fight was great. And I would say that no matter, even though it was a no contest, I would say that Feely won this fight.
Yeah, definitely. And even himself, he said in the when he had his little interview with DC, I don't need to see this fight again. I was going to finish him, all due respect. He was going to get...
Yeah.
I think he was 100%. Pineda would have gone down and Pineda would have taken the L there anyway. But fair play to him for trying to fight on, No one wants to see a person...
Yeah, he gained some fans He gained some fans last night, and one of them being Dana White. That's why Pineda will always, he'll be in the UFC for a while because he tried to fake that to get back into that fight. You know what I mean? Good on him, and he earned some fans last night.
Oh, 100%, 100%. But when the doctor clearly held up 3 fingers, covered
Yeah.
his good eye, and said, "How many fingers am I holding up?" And he was just like 1, 5, like 7.
Yeah, yeah.
He clearly didn't
He's
have a
just
clue what
going
was
off.
going on. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I felt
I
like
love it
he
though,
could have been
man.
given the full
What what
5
a what
minutes.
a that well, isn't that the rule?
But I think the
Like you
doctor called
can
it.
take 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I know, but I'm saying like you can take 5 minutes. That's where I think the rules are weird. Is maybe after 4 minutes, that's when you call that doctor in and say, okay, obviously this guy is not getting it better or trying to shake it off or anything. Doctor, come in and try to make this decision along with your corner man. But it seemed like when did they call the doctor in? It was like after just only like 32 seconds, I think. It was quick, wasn't it?
it was. But Herb Dean, I thought Herb Dean handled it differently to how other people have handled it in the past. He kind of said, "Relax, don't speak to anyone, doctor. I don't want you to have a look at him. You've got plenty of time. Chill, relax," which is something we haven't seen before. Usually, it's quick, dark, have a look, see
Yeah.
what's going on,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
quite quick with it. Whereas yesterday, I thought that he gave him a little bit more time than other people have had in the past.
But you know what? I just this just came to me. When they call a doctor in usually to look at something, it is they stop the fight to look at a cut. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? They say, okay, Nate Diaz, your cut is too bad. Come here, take a look at this, doc. It's not a foul. You know what I mean? Right off the bat, because the doctor more. I mean, it was the cut or it was the eye poke, but it was that cut that was that was detrimental to Pineda last night.
It was definitely, but as we say, fantastic performance for Feely, and
Yeah,
I can see him doing really
yeah.
well in the featherweight division. Very, very well. If he performs in the future like he did yesterday, he will go places because I think he hasn't got the best record in the world either.
No,
So it would be good to see him, really rack up these wins.
yeah, I agree with you on that.
So we obviously had quite a few heavyweights on last night, and one of them being Tanner Bosa versus a very aging of St. Preux. What did you think of Tanner Bosa's performance? Both of these gentlemen, there's a big age gap between these two guys. One's on the back end of his career. One is trying to, I feel, re-envision his career. Do you know what I mean? Tanner Bosa's got a very messy record as well. But what did you think of his performance yesterday? And ultimately, we have to speak about the fence grab, right?
I really do think that Boser's fight plan and his fighting technique last night was really good. I thought he outclassed Open St. Preux, and I know that we're going to talk about the fence grab, but outside of that, he fought a great fight. I mean, obviously a second round, so second round finish. Boser definitely did great that fight, but just like a Tim Means, just like a Greg Hardy, just like all these guys, he's going to stay in this field of mediocrity.
But the heavyweight division is probably out of all of the divisions that I can think of and all the fighters that I can think of, the heavyweight division is probably the least stacked, I guess, because you're only looking at the kind of
Hmm.
top echelon of that division is probably only maybe like 1 to 6 of real contenders. Whereas in some of the other divisions, obviously, you've got kind of like 1 to 12 where you're looking at, right, this is a minefield of where you're going to fight now. But where does Bosa go from here? Do you know what I mean? Is he going to get a super high ranked fighter? Is he going to fight Volkov? Because everyone seems to fight Volkov and they
Yeah.
both fought on the same card yesterday.
Yes. He could fight Volkov. I mean, he could fight. God. I mean, he could fight the winner of Greg Hardy and Tuivasa. You know what I mean? Like he could go wherever really he wants to right now. But you know, you did say that this is probably a weight class that is, the least stacked. And it kind of showed last night that, why this is the least stacked weight class out there. Did you, but I do want to say the fence grab. Did you think it was a fence grab?
I thought because the gloves are quite chunky, I thought that it was perhaps as he put his hand against the cage And as we've seen in the past, people have had their toes caught in the side of the cage, as in not through no fault of their own. I think as he was putting his hand on the side of the cage, the bit that stuck out on the side of the glove gave him a little bit of elevation. But it's like in any sport, if the ref doesn't see it, it's not illegal.
Ric Flair did it all the time. You know what I mean? I say if you're not cheating, you're not trying. But if I'm trying to post up and my glove catches part of the cage as I'm trying to get up, I'm using every bit of it. I do not care about what happened last night, because in the end, it really didn't matter. Boser beat Oven St. Preux, and we'll just move on from that, because I mean, OSP, his greatest calling was going 5 rounds with John Jones.
And
really,
yeah. And he's had a very, very up and down career after that. And I think he's 38 now. And for a heavyweight, that's not overly old, because heavyweights usually come into their kind of prime at around 35, 36. But I feel like he started so much earlier than the rest of these heavyweights that he will just get destroyed now. You know, kind of looking at the rankings here, if he was to go up against a Chris Dorcas or a Tom Aspinall or a Spivak, Pavlovich, Augusto Sakai, you know, these guys are going to do a lot of damage to Oven St. Preux.
Yeah. Yes. And those guys that you just named right there would probably do a lot of damage to Boser too.
100%. I completely agree. And that is where he's going to be, on that kind of fringe 15 now. He's going to be fighting someone like Spivak or Walt Harris, or, you know, some of these people. He's going to be fighting one of these guys, you know, and they're going to do a lot of damage to him, because he's good, but he's not that good, in my opinion, you know?
Right. This card was full of those kinds of fighters.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it was full of that kind of fighters. So, you know, they're good, but they're not that good.
Yeah.
Not taking away from any of those guys, though.
No,
they're better than me. Some of them.
Yeah, some of them anyway. Some of them. And that obviously builds us up to the main event last night, which was, fortunately for me, it was at a reasonable time in the UK, because I managed to watch it at around midnight. I think it was the fight actually started, which is fantastic. Usually the prelims start at 1 a.m. So this was nice to see a main event before 1 a.m., before the sun came up. And obviously for yourself, it was in the afternoon, right? It was an afternoon card.
Yeah, we got done with it by 6 o'clock. It was amazing.
Wow, what do you do with yourself after that? What do you do? You know, what is left of a Saturday night if there's no UFC on?
What did we do? We watched a movie. We just enjoyed life. You know,
all of those exciting things you don't usually get to do on a Saturday.
That's usually Saturday nights or down at the bar watching the fights, but Julie asked me, my wife asked me, she says, are you gonna be doing this all night? Because I was talking to the guys on the Discord, and they said, I was like, no, this is the main event. She's like, oh, what are we gonna do? I said, I don't know, let's just go from here. So we ended up watching a cartoon movie with my son, so that was it.
Yeah, whereas in the UK, we obviously do so much beforehand, and then it's like, right, I need a couple of double espressos now to try and stay up until 7 in the morning.
That's crazy.
It's dedicated.
Will you guys have to pay for? Will you guys have to pay for the Conor fight? Like, even if it's on BT Sports, because I know, I'm sure that a Conor fight definitely makes you pay for that.
It usually is. I haven't really looked into it yet. It's a couple of weeks away. Will I pay for it? Yes, because that's just what I do. You only really need to pay for Conor McGregor fights and Khabib fights. And now Khabib's retired, you basically need to pay for Conor McGregor once every 4 years to jump in the octagon for a little bit. And usually it's worth it, And if, like we said, if we see Greg Hardy get absolutely smashed, the money will be worth it.
It will be definitely worth it. Screw that guy. Woman beater.
But there obviously will be a little bit of movement come this week in the heavyweight division, in the rankings anyway, because obviously Cyril Gane is sitting at number 3 and Volkov being number 4, which I think is a little bit strange. Gane is 9-0 now, and he's already projected himself completely to the front of the ranking system, which is a little bit baffling for me. I don't feel like his performances have been overly exciting. He beat a close to retiring JDS, and then was it JDS he fought with over the years?
Yeah, it was the elbow in the back of the head. Yeah.
Yeah. And I doubt he was even ranked. And then now all of a sudden he's Rosenstruik, who
he fight Rosenstruik, which was a boring fight, terrible fight. And then you have Volkov, which was, I'm sorry, but in my opinion, a very boring fight. And if Volkov would have pressed if he would have pressed the issue, I'm sorry, Volkov should have won that fight. If he would have stuck to his game plans with the leg kicks and would have pressured him and not let Gane get comfortable and start working his game plan, then yes, Volkov would have won that fight. And I get so frustrated because of, people want Gane to be a superstar because me and you have talked about this before. Me and you have talked about this before. The way this person looks. You know what I mean? He is a beefed up guy. You want two guys that look like that, Ngannou, and you got Ngannou, and then you got Gane. Those guys are both jacked heavyweights, and they want those guys to go against each other at all costs. But in my opinion, Gane does not deserve to be there because he did not do the things that Ngannou has done.
I completely agree with you. And I also want to point out the fact that Stipe Miocic is still the number 2 ranked heavyweight in the world and is the former heavyweight champion of the world and one of the most dangerous men on the planet. All I saw last night was things that were like, oh, Gane needs a title shot. Gane needs a title shot eliminator. The guy is 9-0 in mixed martial arts. And if he was to come up against someone like Stipe Miocic, who is the former champion, what does he do to him? I doubt he does a great amount, if I'm honest with you, especially if he puts on a performance like he did yesterday. Do you think Stipe would run through this man?
Run through him. He would demolish him. It would be sickening what he would do to Gane. Gane, he fights with his chin up in the air, and if he wants to shoot, he'll shoot with his head straight down. Those are uppercuts. Derek Lewis would uppercut him and put him to sleep. Stipe would uppercut him and put him to sleep. DC, the guy that's retired, would run through Gane. I am telling you 100%, Gane does not deserve a fight against Ngannou. Give him somebody, if you want a title eliminator, give him somebody like a Derek Lewis or a Stipe Miocic. I just don't see it happening. Volkov is not a power hitter. He is not a knockout artist. No. Rosenstruik, he's knocked out a couple people, but those guys were too scared of each other. They were too respectful towards each other's kickboxing background that neither one of them went to each other. JDS, when he knocked out JDS, it was an elbow to the back of the head. JDS shouldn't be out of the UFC. Anyway, I go off a little bit on this.
It's not a problem.
I cannot believe people think Gane. I can't believe people think Gane deserves a title shot. I just don't understand it.
And who is he really?
He's not exciting.
No. And who is he for? He's gonna have to fight someone. The only 3 people that are above him, one being the champion of Francis Ngannou, is Stipe and Derek Lewis. And Derek Lewis wants another shot at the title, which he probably deserves. No one's heard from Stipe, because is he going to get another title shot? They're 1-1 now, technically, with regards to wins. He needs to decide what he wants to do. And then, Rosenstruik he's already beaten, but Gane just completely jumped over all of these people. Do you think it's because he's French and because France have only just made this stuff legal in their country? They want to have a French superstar and they want to promote the French mixed martial arts fighters within the UFC?
No, I think it is strictly at the way he looks. Yes. I mean, dude, do you remember when Ngannou lost to Stipe the first time, right? And then he had that stinker match against Derek Lewis, the first one, where they just stood in front of each other, and it was a terrible fight. But what did Ngannou have to do? He had to knock out like 3 people to get a rematch. Mm-hmm. And when I say knockout, he devastatingly knocked out 3 people to get to that rematch, and then did the same thing to Stipe Miocic. I am not seeing that from Gane. But who are they putting against Ngannou. They're putting somebody, Derek Lewis. Why are they putting Derek Lewis against there after their shit fight? It's because he knocks out, a couple people, but mostly because he's a marketable person. He's my balls are hot. You know what I mean? Like he's a marketable person, and that's why they're giving him this shot. And Gane is a marketable person because of the way he looks, and possibly because he's a French person. You know what I mean? And they're trying to promote a French champion, but you'll never see Gane be champion unless he truly changes his way of fighting.
And what would he have to do? You're obviously very against him, and the ranking that he is in at the moment, and with regards to his performances. But what does he have to do over his next 2 to 3 fights to really impress you and get you on the Gane hype train?
I would love to see him. If he's gonna, okay. All right, I'm gonna have to really think about this. If I would have to, I would really get on the Gane hype train if he knocked out a couple people, like legit knocked out a couple people, and not a it doesn't have to be a total blackout Derek Lewis, Francis Ngannou knockout or anything like that, but a TKO where he's putting these kicks and stuff together. I would also like to see him not buckle under pressure, where he's trying to go in when he has an exchange with somebody, trying to go in with his head down, because if anybody would have seen that, they would have seen a knockout coming from an uppercut. You know what I mean? Gane just to me he's let me down in 2 straight fights that I really thought that he was going to really show his power, really be able to show his kickboxing background and really show what he's got. And I just have not seen it. And I do not think that he deserves a title fight. And Conor, to be honest with you, I don't know what he has to do to impress me. He obviously doesn't have to impress me because people are saying that he deserves a fight. So, it is what it is, but he does not have my approval. And that's the only thing that matters.
Absolutely, man. No, it really is, and as a mixed martial arts fan, you do, although, you see that guy, the classic meme of the guy that says just bleed on his stomach, and sometimes it's not about that, the game has changed dramatically since that kind of guy was watching mixed martial arts. It is a chess match now. It is a lot more groundwork. It's a lot more technical than it ever has been, and the game has developed so much. But every now and again, it is nice to see a knockout and to see a TKO or to see a really, really well played submission. And Garner's faced Tanner Bosa, who we just spoke about, who's a very mid-level fighter anyway. JDS, who was about to be cut from the UFC. Rosenstruik, who was very tentative the entire fight and didn't want to throw absolutely anything. And then obviously Volkov, who's got a declining record and isn't really a massive superstar anyway. So the fact that he is going to be solidified at a number 3 ranked fighter here is very, very strange to me.
And trust me, I'm telling you, if Volkov's coaches would have told him to keep to those leg kicks and keep pressuring him, it would have been a totally different fight.
It would have. And I thought he was looking good at points. I personally didn't see it as a 50-45. I thought he would have at least scraped one round, especially in the later stages. I felt like Gane was the busier man in the earlier rounds, but, Volkov turned up the heat a little bit towards the 4th and 5th round and was getting some good connections. But both men didn't really look kind of like they took a lot of damage the entire fight.
No, I mean, Volkov looked a little bit more damaged. And then obviously, we talk about eye pokes. He got that bad eye poke in the 5th round, which he could have, easily said, I can't see, but thankfully Volkov didn't take the easy way out and actually said, let's keep fighting. You know what I mean? I think if that was a different person, we would have seen a different outcome on that.
Yeah, it could have been very, very different. Now, we have covered everything from last night, but there is something I wanted to pick your brain about before we sign off. And obviously, the big pay-per-view coming up. I want to know your thoughts on the rematch and the trilogy of the notorious Conor McGregor versus Dustin, the Diamond Poirier. Tell me, where do you think this is going, and who do you think takes the W here?
I'm going to make this short and sweet. I'm saying Conor takes this in the first round. And I have never been a Conor fanboy. Trust me. The only Conor I like is you, buddy. I have never been a Conor McGregor fanboy. And I have always rooted against him. Always. I rooted against him when he fought Aldo. I rooted against him when he fought Chad Mendes. I rooted against him when he fought Alvarez. I thought these guys were all going to wrestle him. I thought they were going to run a clinic, but he has made me a believer. And what I seen in the first fight, I have went back and I watched that second fight with Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor too. And outside of that takedown, I think that Conor was controlling the striking in that fight. And I think that he is going to be able to do that in the third fight. Now, you and I talked about when Conor went back to his corner, what did he say? He said that his leg was screwed up. Mm-hmm. It was done. I think that Dustin Poirier's corner keyed in on that because you notice as soon as that second round started, Dustin attacked that calf kick more than he did in the first round. I don't think that he's going to be able to do that this time because Conor McGregor is going to come out and destroy him. It's going to be Conor McGregor in the first round. And the Dustin Poirier train is going to be derailed real quick. What do you think?
I'm not sure. I want to see these guys go either 4 rounds or 5 rounds before someone clinches it, because I feel like we haven't seen enough Conor McGregor in the octagon for the past couple of years, and we really need to see him go a long distance to see if he still has it in him. You know, I put something out on social media the other day, and I said, does Conor's stock go down with regards to his fan base and his notoriety and stuff like that if he loses this fight? And the obvious answer was no for most people, but there was a lot of good interactions on the thread that was, he will always be a big money fighter, and whether he loses this fight or wins this fight, he will always be able to get a big draw, and he will be on a lot of money for when he wins this or loses this, whatever happens, he will make a lot of money. But what's he fighting for now? Is he fighting for a legacy? Is he fighting for, he doesn't need the money, you know? So what is the incentive? You know, what is the incentive? And you know yourself, if you're doing something and you want to put everything into it, there has to be a reason as to why you want to do it and why you want to succeed. But what is his reason why?
I seen a video of Conor McGregor the other day, right? And it was on Twitter. It was from that guy, Dr. I don't know if you have any interactions with him, but he put a video of Conor McGregor out there. And they asked him, why are you doing this? And he says, I am doing the whatever the F I want life. And it's because I have bled for this. I have put in numerous hours of work for this. And I can do this because I have put in the work. I think that Conor McGregor is going to continue to put in the work. I think that he is, even though he has that $400 million, bank account now, or however much he has, he still, once it's in your blood, it's in your blood. He is a fighter at heart. And, I really think that he wants to be the champion again. He wants to be that relevant fighter again. And I think that is what's going to fuel this fire. And when he ends up beating Dustin Poirier, they're obviously going to launch him straight over Justin Gaethje into a title fight against Charles Oliveira. That's why I really, truly believe that they have not made Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje yet. I think they're just waiting for this one to see who wins this, and then that's going on to happen later at a later date.
And to, I've got the rankings in front of me now, and to look and see that Conor McGregor is ranked 5th, and then above him you have Michael Chandler and Beneil Dariush, as well as Justin Gaethje, who hasn't fought for quite a long time, and Dustin Poirier, who's sitting at number 1. But if Conor gets through this fight and beats Dustin Poirier, he's obviously going to go straight into a title fight. But does Charlie Olives give him problems? Because Charlie Olives, as we have seen in the past couple of years, he's been doing very, very well, knocking out your boy Michael Chandler, beating everyone that the UFC puts in front of him.
Dude, I really think Oliveira is the real deal. I really, truly do. but there is a different kind of a vibe when you're fighting a superstar like Conor McGregor. You can't tell me that that is not the same as going in and fighting somebody like Michael Chandler. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, fighting somebody like Michael Chandler is not fighting somebody like Conor McGregor. When those lights, when you hear the chants of the Ireland crowd, when you are just getting booed constantly from somebody, from the whole crowd, that has to affect you in some sort of way. Some people can live up to it. Some people can't. Charles Oliveira seems like somebody that could live up to it. But, it's hard saying. There is he's Mystic Mac. You know what I mean? Like, he can pull these things out of nowhere.
And just looking at it, apart from getting the lightweight title strap opportunity, there's no one else that I can really see, apart from obviously the trilogy with Dustin Poirier, that gets a big enough draw to get Conor McGregor to fight them. If he fights Gaethje, they're never going to match him up against Beneil Dariush, because Benny,
Right.
a fantastic fighter, but with all due respect, he's not a massive draw. Do you know what I mean? Unless he
Right.
wants to try and get another Tesla from Elon Musk, which I thought was absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
But who does he fight? There's really not a great amount of people that would get a big enough draw for Conor McGregor, unless you're fighting Nate Diaz, of course. That trilogy was always there.
No. Yeah. The trilogy is there, and I think it'll eventually happen. I mean, I really do. That's gonna happen eventually. If Conor loses this fight, that will happen.
Or even a fight with Jorge Masvidal at 170. What do you think?
No, I'm not interested in that fight. Jorge Masvidal is he's a journeyman, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it showed with Kamaru Usman. He struck lightning with the big knee. He struck lightning with the BMF title against a naturally 155er. And, they wanted to promote him. And then he got demolished in that second fight with Kamaru Usman. Oh, my God. It was insane.
It was glorious. It was glorious to see.
It's one of my favorite. Okay. Anyway, it's my favorite picture of all time. Great knockout from Kamaru Usman to George Masvidal. George Masvidal does not. I don't think that him. It would be a huge draw, but I wouldn't do it if I was Conor, because look at what George Masvidal did to Nate Diaz, a natural 155er. Conor McGregor is also a natural 155er to a 145.
Mm-hmm.
I do not think that would be a smart fight for Conor McGregor to take.
So, okay, you think it's going to be a first round knockout. I want it to be an absolute war between these two gentlemen. I want to see loads of blood, personally. I want to see it just bleed. Do you know what I mean? I want to see some real action from the two fighters. Where does either man go after this? Conor McGregor is obviously always one win away from a title shot, but where does Dustin Poirier go if he takes the loss here?
Justin Gaethje rematch. 100%. If he loses this fight, Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier was such a close fight and such a war that would be a match to definitely put on as a rematch, in my opinion.
Well, obviously, Dustin Poirier turned down the belt opportunity here to fight Conor McGregor and make a bit of money, which is, fair play to him for wanting to do that. But even if he takes the loss here, does he still stay where he is in the ranking system and deserve a title shot, maybe after one or two more fights? Or do you think that's it now? He's never going to get close to it again?
That's it. I really think that would be. He should have taken this title. He should have taken that title fight when he had the chance.
And that's it for him now. That's it for him. Do you think
it'd be over?
Because he's going to make a lot of money from this fight and from this trilogy. I think win, lose, or draw, I think he's going to make a serious amount of money. And he probably knows now that if he does lose this fight, he's going to have to fight a couple more times before he gets the belt opportunity again, whether he's fighting, they might even match him up against Beneil Dariush, because I doubt Dustin Poirier would move from the ranking system if, would have too much of a detriment to his ranking system if he was to lose.
I think that there's already been talk of him retiring eventually. You know what I mean? Like he said that, I thought there was talk of him retiring after the second Conor fight.
Yeah.
So if he does come in and make a substantial amount of money, why not walk away? I mean, that's what you're here for. You know what I mean? That's why I think Nate Diaz, he comes in every other year, fights a fight for $1.1 million when all the other guys are getting, pennies. And, he can afford to take, 2 or 3 years off. He knows he's going to be a big enough draw to, if he needs a paycheck, he'll just fight somebody.
Yeah. Whenever he's spent all of his money on weed, he can just, he just book himself a fight for a couple of months' time, and that's it. He's done. He can restock.
Yeah. He doesn't even need to stop smoking anymore.
Yeah, because he was smoking at the press conference, wasn't he?
Yes. God, embarrassing. Oh well.
Just on that subject, real quickly before we finish the show, what did you think of him smoking cannabis while he was on stage? Which obviously quite a few people mentioned it as well while he was up there. What do you think about that and the effect it would have on the younger members of the audience and the younger viewers?
Disrespectful, a terrible way to show the young people, younger kids and stuff like that. Like, I would never want my son to be like, why is he doing that? Or, why is this professional athlete, this guy that we're supposed to hold in high regard, smoking a blunt and then acting like he's under the, influence of drugs, being like, what's the question? Like, that is just so disrespectful to all the other people up there. And then for people to just be like, yes, this is Nate Diaz, Nick Diaz Army, Nate Diaz Army. Get out of here. These people that talk about Nick Diaz Army have never seen a Nick Diaz live fight. I am so sick of the people, just worshiping these guys like they're gods. I'm sorry. It's disrespectful to the other fighters. It's disrespectful to, the younger generation, like we were talking about earlier. People that, I want my son to watch this stuff like I have, you know what I mean? And I know that drugs are, they're prevalent in, high school and peer pressure and stuff like that. And if my son has seen a professional athlete like Nate Diaz openly smoke the stuff, what's to say, why should I say no if Nate Diaz or if these fighters are, openly smoking this stuff?
But it's obviously, it was legal where he was. So technically he's not doing anything wrong, right?
I mean, I understand it's legal in my state too.
Mm-hmm.
It's legal in my state in Illinois too. But that doesn't mean that I still can't smoke, and I still can't go out and do that stuff on my job. My wife can't do that on her job. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. She's a nurse. I'm an electrician at a big facility. We can't be doing that stuff. And even though it's legal, technically legal, I think that that's a bad example to pull.
No, I'm with you, man. I completely agree.
But if you want to do it, more power to you. I'm happy that it's legal for you guys. I'm happy that it's legal for you guys.
No, I'm with you, man. And people are going to do it whether it's legal or not. Let's be frank about it. People are going to do it whether
You're
it's
right
legal or not.
You're right.
Just the fact that because I think this would probably be the first time anyone's ever done it in front of a live audience on TV at a press conference. So it was obviously quite a big talking point as well. And obviously, I think Israel Adesanya mentioned it as well and said, someone's smoking some good stuff over there. And it makes light of something that, is obviously quite a lot more serious to quite a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, he did at the open workout too when he was fighting Anthony Pettis. Mm-hmm. Remember when he did the open workout and he lit up a blunt and started doing an open workout with a blunt in his mouth? Get over it. That's just, God, okay, we get it. You smoke weed. Good for you.
And on that
Sorry.
bombshell, we will wrap up the fight card from last night and a few other topical things that we like talking about on this show. Brian from Mad Dog MMA, thank you so much for jumping on and talking about some stuff that we will soon talk about again in the future, because that's what we seem to do. There always seems to be the same talking points. And if you are free, we'd love to have you on the show for the pre-fight or post-fight of UFC 264, I believe it will be. So if you do have some free
Absolutely.
time, I'm sure everyone will be happy to have you on the show as well. As always, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube, of course. If you like the content we provide, please feel free to drop a comment and hit like and subscribe as well. You can also find Brian. Brian, where are you found, my friend?
I'm on Mad Dog MMA on Twitter, and then Mad Dog MMA on YouTube. Just a crazy amount of subscribers so far, 57. Would love to get those numbers up. Come on through, check my videos out. You guys will enjoy the content.
Absolutely. And if you don't enjoy the content, the UFC themselves will, because when Brian produces content, they take it down. He is so good at what he does.
Bastards.
They don't want him doing what he's doing.
Oh, those bastards. I buy every pay-per-view too.
But until next time, Brian, thank you very much, my friends. And we'll speak to everyone soon.